Alright, it's going. Cool. This is Sarah, and it's Monday, and I'm gonna talk to myself here for a minute until I see that I'm not alone, and then I will get back to work. It still takes me like a half an hour to get set up to do a stream, which is kind of ridiculous, and I blame it entirely on the fact that I refuse to clean off my desk, which is on the other side of this camera below me. It is covered in crap, which is the result of a very busy summer leading into fall, and now that it's winter I really need to take the time to clean. And then it won't take me as long to do these sorts of things. Cool. Hi, Ron. Yeah, it's supposed to auto-adjust, but it's not. So I'll turn it back down. There we go. It's a little better. I guess it stops auto-adjusting once I turn the stream on? I don't know. Maybe not. I'll leave it here. Whatever. Cool. Hi, Death Shaker. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody else that's hanging out with me right now. I'm going to check the dashboard. Hello, the 6 of you that are here. Cool. So... Oh, hi, Ahmed. Cool. So, yeah, what this is about. It's winter, and I'm fighting that, I don't know if anyone else fights this battle, but anytime winter happens, I have to make this executive decision between resting and kind of checking out from all of my adult responsibilities and playing a video game or something until the end of the year, or I can kind of choose to pursue something that isn't on my radar, or continue documenting all the stuff I've done this year. Basically continue working, so I have to choose between work and pleasure. And last year, I remember around this time I checked out and played Breath of the Wild for like a month, and I didn't really properly document any of the things I had made, and all that stuff just sort of got eaten by time. It just got lost in like the nether. And I don't want to let that happen again, so I think what I'm choosing to do this year is to continue editing all the video that I have backlogged, and then in between becoming completely exhausted and fed up with the video editing, I'm going to start learning Unity, which is a weird thing because I'm not a game developer, but I do kind of want to create vignettes, like little mini worlds that you can walk around and interface with, because that's pretty much like 90% of what's going on in my head is all of this nonsense stuff, like these alternate universes that don't exist that I dwell in, that is kind of, I guess, a coping mechanism for the reality that I actually physically exist in. So I'm going to make them, and they're not going to be games so much as things, little worlds that you can walk through and interface or interact with the characters that are there, and stuff will be happening and you can kind of have an experience, but it's going to be something out of my head. But it's hinging on me learning how to use a game engine enough to actually orchestrate these things. I also have to create the assets, which luckily I know how to draw, so it shouldn't be too difficult to do that. The thing that I was playing around with this weekend specifically was pixel art, like making sprites with very low resolution, like screen settings, so that you can dot by dot figure out how to make sprites, basically. They're called sprites, you know what sprites are. So I've been playing around with making sprite animations, sprite sheets, and trying to figure out how to get all the game dynamics working in Unity, and I watched probably 5 hours of tutorials on YouTube, and I feel like I learned a lot, but I know nothing still, so I'm still trying to get over that initial learning curve to the point where I'm functional, and I'm not there yet. I'm gonna have to keep watching stuff until I get to a point where I can start importing all my junk that I'm making and make a character that can actually walk around in my ugly art world. But for this stream, I'm just gonna draw. Like, I'm gonna work on the pixel environment that I'm making. So I'll switch over down to my my desktop view here in a second. But how are all of you guys doing? It's Monday, and I don't know where you are in the world, but you've got time enough to hang out with me, so I don't know. How was your weekend? How is your week going to be? What are your goals for the week? It's Monday. It's a fresh new cycle of doing anything's possible, right? This is one of my new Oh, thank you. The Panicked Chef. That makes me happy to hear. I really do need to start streaming more often. There's no excuse now. I have nothing really pressing going on, so I should really start streaming my work days, especially now that they're going to be a lot less awful. Not that they were awful before. I kind of stopped streaming because I find that normal work days for me are kind of this amalgam of like multiple goals. I'm working on like 12 things at once, which I'm very focused on doing those 12 things, so it's very difficult to stop and explain why I'm switching and working on different things when I do. So, I don't know. It doesn't make as much sense when it's not task-oriented. But anyhow, I'm gonna switch down to my desktop view and show you what I'm working on, because I am working on a thing. Oh, nope. Okay. Ah! Sorry. So if I go down to my desktop view and switch over to here, I can't see the chat right now, so I'm going to be switching back and forth periodically. I still need to get another screen. It would make my life easier, but I'm stubborn. Oh, actually, I didn't see if I... There we go. Sorry about that. Forgot to switch that. Okay, so I'm working on a barn. Right? That's super weird for me. Who cares about barns? If I zoom out even further, also, before I zoom out, there's this little guy right here, this little sprite. I made him 2 days ago when I first started getting into this whole sprite deal. I guess the reason why I'm doing this is, I did decide that I was going to check out. I was like, hey, I'm gonna sit back and do a video game and just sort of, you know, sit on the couch and be a useless piece of life for a while. And I think the game that I decided on investing my time in was going to be Stardew Valley, because I hear good things about it. It sounded interesting to me for some reason, and I realized right before I was about to commit to buying it on my Switch, I guess, on the Switch store, Nintendo store, whatever, I realized that I didn't really want to play a game. I just kind of wanted to be in a little farmland with little animals and define what that looked like and what it was going to be. And I know that that's what Stardew Valley is about. Like, you make a farm, right? And then you kind of walk around in it and you maintain it. But it's not really your farm. It's like a farm with the parameters that the game developer put on the game. Which I don't know. I wanted to kind of make my own farm that was sort of a nonsense cyberpunk farm with unfarm-like things on it, but still a farm. So I started doodling my own sprites of like the animals I would have there, and I made this guy. Like, if I switch over to Huffy. Oh man, where's my timeline? There it is. If I play him, he does his little thing. And I never like had made a sprite before, but this actually went really fast. It took me probably about an hour to draw and animate him. And it was fun. Like, it's a fun problem to solve for because there's less information there, so you have to really be choice about where you put your pixels, because everything matters a lot. Like, you can't just arbitrarily just put dots places. Like, every single shade suggests something to your eye, so you have to really kind of like think about it. It's like a puzzle. So I very much enjoyed building this little guy. But once I did it, I was like, okay, well, he needs a world to live in. I could draw the world, or I could actually make it real. I could make either an animation in like After Effects or something, but that's less interesting than people exploring that world on their own. And the only way that you can really explore a drawn world on your own is to make a game. And then thus, I think yesterday when I woke up, I was like, ah yes, I'm going to teach myself Unity. So within like the past 2 days, I'm like off on this like work tangent, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. You just kind of get an inkling of something you want to do, and then you chase the rabbit, and that's it. I'm chasing the rabbit right now. So I'm making this whole thing, or all of the sprite art, in Photoshop because I have it. I know that sprite artists do use other bits of software to create, I guess, pixel art like this, and there's probably things that are better suited for the endeavor than Photoshop, but I kind of don't mind this. If I zoom out more, you see that this is a really, really kind of fucking long document. If I turn off the background, I kind of started mapping in the relative environment behind this barn, and it's inspired by a place where I actually worked when I was younger. When I was like 25, I worked on a ranch in Paso Robles for the summer, and it was an experience that it's never really quite left me. Like, I think that it's a valuable experience for everybody to spend some portion of their life on a farm or a ranch, even if it's just a couple of months, because it kind of it sort of destroys some level of whatever romanticism we put on the concept of working on a farm. If we haven't, it kind of shines light on the realities of that lifestyle. And I remember the experience very fondly, but my perception of what it was like to work on a farm before and after that experience are like drastically different. Or if you just don't ever want to know and you don't want to screw up that dream in your head, then don't do it. I don't know. But Paso Robles was beautiful. It reminded me of kind of like Westfall from WoW, if any of you have ever played Warcraft. There's that yellow rolling hill area with all the farmstead places. It looks kind of like that. But the whole goal of this little universe that I'm making is it's going to be kind of a nonsensical cyberpunk ranch. So on the outside of this barn, I'm going to have a neon sign promoting what's going on inside of the barn, and you'll basically show up at this end, walk towards the barn, go in the door, and then that will take you into the only other environment in my game, which is the inside of the barn. You'll have an option to get spit back out a door that I'm going to add right here, and go in this direction to this little sub area, and that's it. That is going to be the entire game, because if I do all of that, it'll probably teach me everything I need to know in Unity to make more complex games and more complex environments. But this is a good starting point, so I'm gonna go with it. And I think this is a lot healthier than just sort of dropping off the face of the earth and playing Stardew Valley. But yeah, I'm gonna switch over and see what you guys are talking about. Oh man. Nope. There we go. Okay. Cool! Hey AP Tech! Hey Jarens, Ramsey, the Panicked Chef. I've said hi to a few of you already. Harriet Davis, having a farm yeah, having a farm does humble you. Custom creations. I didn't even work on a proper farm. I worked on kind of it was a ranch-ish, for racehorses, and I took care of, I didn't really have anything to do with the running of the farm. I was there to do other things, but I did help occasionally, and there are certain things that I did daily to just sort of help out around the general, like, staff of the farm, and just by having that relation, I got to really understand what is involved with that lifestyle. And it was like very eye-opening, which is good. I mean, the broader perspective you can have in life, the more experiences you can tack onto your existence, the better off you are, I think. But I took care of the goats and the chickens, and I remember that the land was used for what's the word? For grazing Angus cows. So there's a bunch of Angus cows on the property as well, just kind of all over the place, which was kind of cool. But yeah, anyhow, that's the thing that I'm drawing on, literally. Oh, my timeline for this break? Yeah. Buy a farm in real life? No. Last day of vacation. Oh, burnt up. Enjoy the last day of vacation. On my off time, I made arcade bar top in. Oh. It sucks when you have to go back after a vacation. Bring a finished multi-station remote control system for our shop compressor. Ooh. That sounds like a fun project. The Panic Chef. Make a label for my pink spectrometer that says the machine kills fascists. Nice. That's a good thing to work on. 9 p.m. I rate inverse kinematics for Puma 260. Inverse kinematics at 9 p.m. Doesn't sound, well, possibly relaxing. My only experience with inverse kinematics was not relaxing though, so I'm gonna say if I were in your shoes I'd probably be stressed out, but that's because I still don't understand inverse kinematics, in spite of having made and sold a Delta robot to people. And no, I'm not 25. I'm much older than 25. We lived in a converted barn and had loads of animals to take care of and dispatch. Daughter loved the birds. Custom creations. I love the birds too. The chickens are personally my favorite animals that you'd find on a farm, I guess. But I like birds. My family, I grew up with a parrot. Our family pet was a parrot, so I'm kind of a bird person. But no, I don't know. I understand the attraction to farming, but I think that our perception of farming, if we haven't actually been on a farm, is quite different before and after we have. I don't know, I think most little kids are taken to a, there we go, a farm when they're young. Am I right? I don't know how many of you guys have that experience. Oh wait, one of you wanted to see the timeline real quick. But yeah. I don't know. I guess in Photoshop, I might go over this like at a later time, but it's layer based. So each one of these frames is a layer, and you can see it over here in the layers panel, turning on and off and switching as I cycle through these. So you basically turn on the layer that you want to be visible when you have the frame selected, and that's how you kind of tween between them. You also set the time, like the duration of each frame. So if I play him, he pauses at the end on this last frame a little longer than all the other ones. But it wasn't that difficult to do. I think the thing you need to know isn't how to do it, it's how to draw. So the biggest factor in creating pixel art is the drawing portion. I guess if you draw a lot, this would be a bit easier. The perspective on this is incredibly off, and it wasn't when I started. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. Or actually, I have speculations. In trying to smooth out, like see this line right here between the this light color and the wood, it's really difficult to kind of create a diagonal line in pixels that doesn't look very jaggedy and ugly. And I know that there's tricks out there for doing so, but you kind of have to meticulously draw in the the progression, the mathematical like progression of dots at an angle, so that when you zoom out, they visually parse more gracefully than just kind of, right now they're sort of random. In trying to reconcile those angles, the perspective of the side of this barn just got completely like wonked, and I realized that, and I'm gonna try and fix it, but I kind of don't care. Because again, this is sort of a placeholder anyway. But again, if I zoom out, the reason why it is very long like this is one of the things I attempted to do yesterday was, you may or may not know what this is, I'll explain it, but in 2D video games there's this technique called parallaxing. Has anyone heard of parallaxing before? Or you know what it is? It's if you've ever played a 2D video game and you walk back and forth and different layers of the background scroll at different speeds than other layers to kind of create the illusion of depth. That scrolling, that layered scrolling effect is called parallaxing, and there's some math involved that allows that to happen. So I was trying to figure out how to achieve that in Unity yesterday, and I don't know if I succeeded or not because I can't figure out how to add a character element to my scene and attach a camera to it so that I can move around. So I kind of skipped ahead and learned all this advanced stuff without learning the basic things, like adding a character to my little land, and I'm bad for having done that. So I need to go back and kind of look for more basic tutorials and sort that out. So this is my screen view, this like box right here that I turned on. So when you, ideally, when me or anyone else plays my game, this rectangle is going to represent the size of the screen at any one time, and then as you move left or right, the total size of this world that I'm creating is exactly 3 of this view space wide, and it's going to tile infinitely in either direction, and there's a trick for doing that too, or at least the background is going to. So all of these yellow hills that I've yet to render back there, they're going to kind of parallax and then scroll indefinitely left and right, which I'm not going to need to do in this instance, but I'm going to learn how to do it anyway because it's going to be important if I do continue to make little game things like this. But yeah, so I started doing the barn yesterday. I did copy and paste a lot of these like repetitive shapes, like the tiles and the wood beams, and then I'm just kind of going back in and adding little hashes and dots to make them look individually unique. I don't know if that's how the professionals do it, but it's working so far. The thing that I'm trying to parse right now is how to make this door area look a little bit better than it does. Because the door is going to be important. That's kind of the end goal of strolling, from where you'll kind of wake up or enter the world on this end of the level, and then you'll enter and sort of get to this door over here. So it needs to look inviting and not kind of poopy as it does right now. So I'm going to work on that for a while. Also, Noodle is going to have a cameo in this. He's going to exist about right here. So when you walk in, you're gonna pass a little red pull cart with Noodle, and he's going to be trying to sell you. He's going to try and sell you things. So he's gonna be kind of like, it's gonna kind of have a lemonade stand sort of thing going on, and you'll have the option of buying something from him or ignoring him, and then you can keep walking. And then the bowl is just there for scale, I suppose. But yeah, I'm gonna check on the chat real quick. Oh, there's like a bunch more talking going on. Hang on, I'm gonna peek back down and then I'll start drawing, promise. Parallax. The Panic Chef, yes. Parallax is a cool effect. I think I figured out how to do it, how to implement it. I just can't test it yet because of the camera thing that I explained. Yes. Okay, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Having light come from the inside might help the inviting. Yeah, I could do light. I'm going to have a neon sign on the outside, so the lighting conditions on like around the barn are going to shift a little bit. So there'll be light coming from the sign hanging above the barn, like the sign that explains what the barn is called. And it's going to probably be in like teals and blues to kind of complement and contrast with all of the yellows that are already in the scene. So the whole barn like tone will shift slightly relative to that, but I'll probably try and have some light coming from the inside shining out. So I might put a little window on the door, and then it will have like an animation of like stuff happening. So like I guess the thing to announce or say or state is that it's like a cyberpunk barn. It's going to be like the future on the inside, so the inside is not going to match what the outside implies. And the inside, I guess, to give like an idea of where my mind is at, as far as the direction of what the inside embodies. Did anyone ever play Oddworld? Or Abe's Odyssey? When they were, I don't know, a kid? I was a kid when that game came out. It was for PlayStation 1. It was a side-scrolling video game that took place inside of a factory, and it had its own character. It was kind of took place in an alien world, and it was about that alien world's industrial era. And it was very futuristic, but also not futuristic at the same time. And it had this total, like, crazy aesthetic to it that I want to kind of, or at least like I'm inspired by that for the inside. Something that's kind of over the top and not what you'd expect, and kind of mad science lab-esque. So that's what the inside aesthetic is going to be, and it will be a complete departure from like the very wholesome looking outside that I'm creating right now. So that's going to be a separate page in and of itself that I haven't started drawing yet. Yes, Abe's Exodus. Custom creations. I'm glad you know what I'm talking about. That was a good game. Like, anyone who's played that game, or even if you haven't and you want a fun thing to do over the winter break, I highly suggest playing either Abe's Odyssey or Abe's Exodus. They're both fantastic, classic side-scrolling puzzle video games that have probably the best, like, art, I guess, like background art, ambiance, like the universe that's created in the illustrations of that game are like unparalleled in my humble opinion. Like, I think that they did a fantastic job creating that universe visually. Like, every frame is like an art piece. Not an art piece, it's like fine art. But yes, and it's a fun game. That's always important. There's a protein. I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet. I need to. Blade Runner is my favorite movie, so I've been kind of a butt about seeing the new one. Like, it's on my to-do list, but I don't know. I'm kind of old enough to say that I've seen, I think I was alive during a lot of the evolution of video games. When I was a kid, like a very young kid, my dad had an Atari. So like the first console I ever played regularly in my home growing up was the Atari. And it was Pac-Man and Super Breakout and what else did we have? Missile Command. All those games. Centipede. Yeah. Insect. Restaurants can be pretty futuristic. Yes. Oh, and the sexy suit. I just saw that, sorry. So one of my goals for the end of the year is to actually finish documenting all of the work that I've done so far on Shiban. So I actually have a landing video for each one of the augments at this point in time, which are on my thing, on this thing, the YouTube thing that I do, my channel. I have to finish writing about my progress so far, so that's like the actual, like, be a proper artist, Sarah, and document your work, homework that I have to do, and then I need to get footage of each one of the augments actually working, so just a video that's maybe like 30 seconds long showing each of the systems in their working capacity for this first iteration that I'm on for each one of them, because from here on out I'm going to probably have to do a second iteration of each of them that works better, and yeah, so I just want to make sure that that's all kind of nailed down before I move on. And now's the best time to do it because it's the end of the year and things are slow. But yeah, to answer your question. So yeah, anyhow, back to drawing. No, there we go. Alright, as I said, this door needs to get fixed. So I have a barn folder that is specifically filled with all the layers that make up this barn right here. And I'm just gonna bang my face over this door for a little while and really zoom in here so I can really actually address each one of the pixels individually. And I think I'm actually going to get rid of, oh god, the sides for now, because I do not like them and they need to go away. Go away! So there's like a bunch of other stuff that I'm going to distract myself with this winter. This is just one of the things that I'm going to try and occupy my time with. I don't know how far I'll get with it, but it is something I would like to know how to do. The whole... everything about game development is exciting to me, but it's so completely... it's such a complete departure from what I do right now that I've just sort of avoided really learning anything about it. Not really avoided, but I haven't allowed myself to take that detour because it doesn't really overlap with what I'm doing currently a whole lot. Because I do kinetic art, right? So I make a lot of physical things that involve like mechanical engineering. This is more in the realm of illustration, which is something that I do, but it doesn't serve that other part of my life as much. The artist part of my life. I don't like the perspective on this. It's still kind of wonk. I think that's going to be the hardest part about doing this, is all the angles kind of get slowly screwed up relative to one another. And I gotta just make sure that I really am mindful of what I'm doing. And remember to zoom out and look at how things appear relative to each other as I go. Otherwise, everything's just gonna get poopy. But, I don't know, does anybody else really like pixel art? As much as I'm gonna admit I do. Pixel art's pretty amazing. There's something very kind of exciting about what people are able to do with a small amount of information. I mentioned this earlier, but it's really a matter of communicating something with, if you're forming a sentence, it's like communicating a complex idea with as few words as possible. And I think that that's kind of exciting, because it's one thing to look at it and appreciate what the final product is, like the image itself, but to like really like study pixel art and look at those things that give it dimension or make it have extra depth or look like it's breathing or blinking, all those little illusions that are kind of, they tip off our brain, sort of say, because we're looking at pixels, so our brain is just sort of interpreting those pixels in some manner. And you have to kind of figure out how to simulate, you know, movement or breathing or wind blowing through grass, and it's an interesting sort of problem to solve for with tiny little squares. So I think I'm going to maybe turn this into a window. And I guess I could ask this too, like for the next time I check over at the chat window again. Does anybody do pixel art in here, or has anyone ever dabbled in making sprites? Like, is this anyone's, you know, meat and potatoes, or a hobby? Because I think it's quite fun. No? Like, I think at one point in time when I was in college, I tried to make a 2D fighter, and I tried to actually paint all of the, not paint, but make pixel art for all of my characters and their, like, fighting animations, and it was really hard because I wanted to make like one of those old style like Street Fighter type 2D fighter games, and making bodies actually look like they were moving in fighting positions was like one of the most difficult drawing things I've ever attempted. It was not easy, and I ended up giving up on that pretty fast. And I didn't touch pixel art from that time on. So this is the first time I'm really giving it a shot again. And of course, I think one of my end goals is to make a noodle animation, I guess. All roads go to noodle. So I guess eventually it would be nice to create noodle story, or a noodle game, which is something that Mark and I talk about quite a bit. Noodle needs to have his own game, don't you think? So I'm going to eventually probably end up working on specifically that. No. Hate when that happens. Let's see. Okay, that's you. That's the barn. Okay. I guess I could just put this immediately behind the door. Call this light. But it's also been raining here. I know I built a dance floor, right? I don't know if anybody here remembers that. Yeah. We've had shitty weather lately, so I actually put the dance floor up on bricks so that it couldn't get wrecked by the rain. Because we are experiencing rainy weather here in the desert. Maybe I want to do... rain periodically enough that it warrants not leaving your brand new dance floor out in the open. Your brand new dance floor. See what I'm talking about with these angles? They're not easy. They are a difficult problem to solve for. I feel like I'm going back and forth, moving these around to find the exact way they need to lay in order to look like these angles are all kind of converging in the same point eventually. I don't know, it's harder than it looks. Or maybe it's exactly as hard as it looks. I'll go with that. Is as hard as it looks. And then on top of here, I'll probably have lighting. And I'll check the chat here in a second. I'll also throw up a link to our Discord. I'm gonna say our Discord. I have the most awesome Discord community. It's a bunch of cool maker people, and we just chat about the world that we live in. And I don't know, we kind of cope with the nature of things together, which feels nice. Let's see. There we go. Gotta leave that off for now. Actually, no, I'm gonna put all the lighting in a different folder. So that will get left the way that it is for the time being. And I think after I finish this barn, I'm going to focus on probably the ground a little bit more, because right now it's just yellow. And then there's the space around the door. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with that yet. I don't know if I'm gonna have it be the same wood. I'm not gonna decide that yet. But the door's looking a little bit better than it did before. It needs a knob, a door handle, doorknob. You know, the thing that you twisty-do to get inside the inside. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do a knob or one of those twisty-handled bits. I'll decide that later too. Woo! I'm gonna put a bunch of oak trees around, because again, I mentioned that this environment's inspired by Paso Robles, and Paso Robles means Path of the Oaks. So in this part of the world there are a lot of oak trees, and I do want this to be very Paso Robles-esque. Not that anyone will know that looking at it, but I will know. And then this big purple ugly thing right here is like the relative space where my neon sign is going to go. But yeah. I'm gonna put probably bushes there. I don't know. So, barn sign. Let me turn you off. I'm going to do a new thing. I'm gonna call this shrubs. I'm gonna make some shrubs, because I've never made a sprite shrub before. This is another fun thing. Every single thing that I'm making today, I'm doing for the first time. So I've never made foliage before. I've never made trees, if I get to trees eventually. I've never done dirt, and I've never done barns. So this is my first barn. And again, this is in lieu of getting Stardew Valley. But let me answer my messages real quick. Yeah. Okay, so shrub. So in Paso Robles, this place that I'm drawing, I'm guessing at some point in time during the year, Um, it's actually quite green, I'm thinking. I'm thinking that at some point in the spring, everything grows and is quite lovely and it looks like rolling green fields, but then very quickly in the summer everything dries up and dies. Or, I guess dies, yeah. And it becomes yellow. And it's got this very golden, and at certain points of the day, a very almost gray, ashy look to it. But once the sun starts setting, it looks very gold. I'm just gonna say it looks very kind of like Westfall tries to depict. It's got this very golden, yellow, amber, almost like amber, I'll say amber, appearance. And it's quite lovely. And one of my favorite things about living there was watching the environment transform as it went from sort of day to night. Resolve some of these weird edges. No. It's probably one of my favorite places that I've been, because it is sort of contrary to most places that I have spent significant amounts of time in my life. I've lived in cities, I'll just put it that way. So it was sort of entirely contrary to what I'm used to seeing in a day. Too extreme. And I liked that. I enjoyed how different it was there and kind of dead. How very farmy it was. Highlights. So I think one of the most important parts of doing this sprayed stuff is actually having a significant drawing background. Or I won't even say drawing. Drawing helps. Drawing helps, but that's only half of the equation. I think having a background in actual painting, like oil painting and stuff, like with a medium, helped, or is helping me out in this endeavor quite a bit, because without the knowledge of like where to put highlights and shadows and stuff like that, and some relative understanding of color theory, I think this would be a really difficult thing to kind of pull off. Like, if you were to just pick it up and start doing it out of nowhere. Shrub. Like that. I don't know. This is hard. I wonder silently to myself, why do I always sign myself up for doing these new, difficult, completely unnecessary things like I do? It's like a disease. But yeah, this place that I worked at was an interesting place. I remember there were two dogs that the owner had that they were herding dogs, and I guess they're like sheepdogs, I think. I don't know, Australian shepherds. I don't know what those dogs particularly were meant to herd in Australia, but they would come home every morning after being out all night, soaked in blood. Like, for real. Like, they looked like something out of Carrie every morning. They would return home after their dog romps, like whatever it is that dogs do, out in the middle of the night. They would go out and have the time of their lives, and then they would return the next morning completely just, like, bathed head to toe in blood of another animal. And I think the owner found out eventually that they were going over to the sheep farm. Like an actual sheep herd, part of the property that bordered that property that I was working at, and they would kill sheep every night, which is hilarious because that's the total opposite of what they were bred to do. But they were the nicest dogs on the face of the earth, but they just got an F in their sheep herding, I guess. Among other things, like, this was a very interesting place that I worked at. It definitely had its quirks. But that's what made it so enjoyable. And again, my favorite animals were the chickens. That was also where I came to loathe roosters. I don't know if any of you worked in close proximity to roosters, but the anecdotal factoid about them is that they do not only crow in the morning, they kind of crow indefinitely. So the moment that one of them starts going, that's kind of it. That's it. They just keep doing it forever. And they don't stop. So I had to work with forever crowing roosters, which was an interesting, frustrating reality. And I remember there were two on this ranch that I worked at. One of them was like your standard, like, beautiful black, sure, beautiful black cock. It had the green tail and like the red doodle or whatever the hell it's called on its head, and these like kind of iridescent black feathers, and it was very regal looking. And then there's this second rooster that was one of those bell-bottom chickens that had like the very fluffy feathery feet, and it was speckled. It was like a black and white dappled chicken rooster, whatever. And the very regal, beautiful looking rooster crowed exactly like you hear it in your head when you think of like a rooster crowing. It was like cock-a-doodle-doo, and it would say that over and over. Every time it crowed, the speckled rooster would also crow because he would hear, you know, the other male and be like, well, I can do that too, so I'm gonna do it. And he would crow, but he couldn't quite do it. Like it was like he was incapable of crowing properly, or just his crow was just fundamentally different than the normal rooster crow. I don't know if that was because of his breed or because of his personality, but he would make this like derpy, like like a chattering forever echo, like a turkey, like that. It sounded like a turkey. So it would start out sounding kind of like a cock-a-doodle-doo, and then it would just become turkey. So it was like cock-a-doodle-doodle-doodle-doo, but like all different pitches, and every single time it was different, and it sounded like someone was like shaking him while he was doing it. So all day, every day, it was regal rooster crow and then derpy rooster crow, and it was back and forth, these two animals having like a scream off constantly all day. So that was like the soundtrack of my existence while I worked on this ranch, was like the call of the nature, the derpy nature. But again, this was part of what made it so awesome and enchanting, was that fact in and of itself. The derpy rooster. And then there were all the chickens. Which, chickens, if you didn't know, they'll eat anything. Like, you could literally feed them anything, like, including chicken, and they'd probably eat the chicken, because that's how they do. Which is fine. I mean, they can eat whatever they want, I'm not gonna judge, but, one of my jobs was to feed these chickens every day whatever leftovers we had, just sort of chilling out in the house. So if we ate dinner, all the humans would you know, eat their dinner and finish up, and then whatever we didn't consume, including all the garbage for that matter that was like organic and food-based, I would take all that out and feed it to these chickens, and they were fine with it. Which I guess is how nature, in fact, works. Like, animals are a lot less picky about what they eat than we are. If I switch, let me check the chat. Oh man. Alright, let me scroll through this real quick. I don't want to ignore you guys. James asked if I've been tapping. I haven't, because it's been raining here. I did a little bit, and it was very loud, so the tap floor succeeds in being a tap floor, but it's like loud enough that I'm self-conscious about it, so I have to kind of get over this like thing in my head that's making me nervous about doing it and being heard by all of my neighbors, because they will definitely hear me. It is very, very loud, which it's supposed to be. It's just, I don't know. I need to kind of probably drink a beer and then go out there and dance my little butt off and get used to the whole fact of the matter of tap dancing again. So once I kind of get over that hurdle, then I'll start streaming it. And yes, George, I am doing this as a substitute to playing Stardew Valley. I'll state again, because I'm sure some of you guys have joined after I kind of explained what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But I was gonna check out, because it's the end of the year, and like as an artist, as a person who does what I do, the slowest time of the year is like January, December, like that reset period, like over the holidays, and I either check out and play a video game, or I diligently continue working and document all of the stuff I've done throughout the year. And normally I check out and play some video game to kind of give my brain a rest and like help me detach from like the working reality. And I was gonna totally get Stardew Valley and do the farming thing, but then I realized that the thing I wanted out of playing Stardew Valley was to just have my own farm, which is what the game's all about, but I don't actually have as much control over the farm as I would like, because it's someone else's game and they made it, so I'm gonna make my own, like, environment and illustrate it. So that's what I'm doing. So it's not going to necessarily be a game, it's just going to be a world that I'm going to make up in Unity so that you can walk around as a character and interact with all the stuff that's going on the farm, but it's going to be my farm. So that's the level of control I like in my life. So that's probably really telling right now that I just like stated all of this. So the good thing about this is that I'm not going to just check out and play a video game. Hopefully by the time I'm done doing what I'm doing, I'll have taught myself a game engine enough that I can do useful things in it in the future. So this is the first project, this little farm side note, but then after that I would like to do more complicated things that involve Noodle and his story. Noodle's over there. He's like preparing for Christmas. Anyhow. Ooh, wildflowers. James mentioned adding wildflowers. I should totally do that. Paso Robles is covered in lupines in spring. Ooh, what is a lupine? Is that a type? I'm guessing it's a type of wildflower. I need to look that up. Twitter every now and then puts up some. Ooh, Saint 11. I will check that out. Thank you, Samuel. Yeah, pixel art tutorials would probably come in handy. I should have been looking at a few of those yesterday while I was watching all of the Unity stuff. Like, I definitely went down a Unity rabbit hole. I think I watched 5 hours of tutorials by this Brackies guy. I think he has probably one of the most like extensive, specifically Unity tutorial YouTube channels on YouTube that I found, at least. And I found a lot of useful information, but there's some things I didn't find, so I'm kind of stuck at the moment, and I think Mark mentioned that he'll probably help me get unstuck, because a lot of it has to do with the script doing portion of Unity, which of course I don't have an innate sense of what to do in the context of scripting, because I'm not a code writer. But Mark's gonna put his head together with me and get me over that. The greenness of the hills is almost neon in color because they seldom grow to full maturity. Yes, that sounds about right. I've never been there in the spring, but like I want to go check it out. Game art makes you stressful more than inverse kinematics. Oh, it is kind of stressful. Everything's stressful. Life is stressful. We're not sheep herding dogs, they were sheep herding dogs. Nice one. They were sheep herding. Definitely. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for offering help. Custom creations. Thank you. I think we've got, the only thing I don't really have access to here is a laser cutter, but we have a place in town that we go to get like bulk laser cutting done when it comes down to it. But yeah, we've got all the bells and whistles here for the most part. Mark tends to acquire equipment, or pretty much everyone I know tends to acquire equipment as they need it. So everyone I know kind of has their own mini lab / machine shop these days, which is just luckily how the people I know work. So I think I know good people. I'm in good company. Oh, cool. Hello from Turkey. It's someplace I want to go one of these days. Can't help with most things. Oh, you can help with things game dev related? You studied for 6 years, Nick B? I might have questions for you. Not yet, though. I don't know the questions I need to ask yet, because I'm just starting, but I'll take you up on that if they come to me, because I'm sure I will have them, so thank you. That does bring up the related question. You must have gotten better comfortable with Python, right? No, I have not gotten comfortable with Python. Mark has gotten comfortable with Python, but he still hates it. Because he, as far as the code writing goes, for the image recognition stuff that we did over the summer, like primarily the actual code aspect of that was all Mark's doing, and the entire time he complained. So I think he has a better understanding of Python, but he still doesn't like it. And as for me, like, I haven't improved any because it was way above my head to begin with. That being said, one of my goals for next year, now that it's the end of the year and I'm buckling down and deciding where I'm going to focus my energy in the year to come, I think my primary goal, and I know I stated this at the beginning of this year as well, and it didn't end up happening, so you're gonna be like, liar, 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 liar. I want to work on getting Noodle walking. Like, I think I'm going to make that, as a parent, my primary goal for the following year. And I know that new things come up and plans change, so that's very liable to happen. But, I just noticed how dirty that looked. Sorry. I'm going to attempt to get Noodle walking, which means that I am going to have to invest no small amount of my time in understanding coding, so I will probably take another stab at learning more complex code implementation than I know right now. It's just, I'm not gonna worry about that until I get through December, probably the first week into January. You should try combining Unity and hardware projects. It's what I used to power nearly all my projects, and it's... Can you do that? How would... Wait, Evan, how would you combine Unity and a hardware project? I can't even think of how you would do that. That seems like two completely, like, separate universes. There's, like, video game universe and then hardware, which is, like, to me, separate entirely from, like, creating a virtual space. Like, how would you combine those two things? Like, I know you can. Like, when I was in college, like, all of my classes focused on the crossover between, like, processing and creating hardware projects. So, like, I understand what they used to do, mixing those two things up. Is it sort of similar in that regard? I don't know. Give me an example. But that sounds enticing. Cool. I'll talk at you in Discord then, for sure. But yeah, thank you. Speaking of, I said I was going to do this and then I totally didn't. Invite people. Copy. There. Here's the Discord link. There you go. A physical controller. So one of the side projects that I've been working on and I haven't finished yet for like 2 years now, because that's how I roll. I started rebuilding my arcade stick cabinet, which is something I originally made, but I need to build a new one because the old one got kind of banged up. And 2 years ago, I started building a new cabinet with the buttons and the joystick and all the bells and whistles, and then I just sort of dropped it, and I haven't played 2D Fighters since. So I might finish building that and then work on getting that to control stuff in my game, potentially. Unity and Arduino both can talk over serial. So for example, I made a representation of my robot in Unity and then animated it using Unity's animation tools and 3D representation of my robot. That's a good idea. So maybe I can make a link between Noodle's real physical self and his 3D virtual physical self, and then teach Noodle how to move by moving his 3D virtual body. Robot parenting's weird, right? So that actually sounds kind of like a good idea. Pulses, etc. for the servos rather than using pure math on the Arduino side, so it's like a See like UI for the robot. I like that. It's kind of like that the feedback, the force feedback servo motors that you can buy to sort of teach the robot how to move by actually physically moving the motors, except you're doing it in a virtual space instead of reality, and I kind of really like the idea of doing that. And then you can see it on the screen, so it does both. So you can do both. I like that. See, that's more along the lines of how my mind works, because I hate writing code. I'd much rather physically manipulate something to teach it how to do than sit in front of a window and type words. I hate that. But I do need to get Noodle walking. But if Unity can help me get Noodle walking, then I feel like I'm being a good parent, even though I'm getting hugely distracted on this completely new endeavor. Alright, I'm gonna switch back over to the thing I was doing. That's this thing. Bam. Alright, I'm making bushes still apparently. So back to bushes. Do I have any more farm stories I can tell? I'm not even entirely sure. I do definitely have a lot of farm stories to tell. I'm trying to think of ones that aren't awful. What the hell else did I do there? I did a lot. It was a, they had racehorses there, which, some people might think I'm nuts for saying this, but I actually don't like horses a whole lot. They're scary to me. They're kind of like big, skittish dogs that are dangerous. Or at least the ones I was around felt that way. They're animals that I never really liked being around. So what if I copy and paste this little shrub thing? Shrub. Shrub. Guess I could always do that too. That's another thing I always forget to do in pixel art, or have been forgetting to do, is there's like, I guess, tile-based game development where you just like stamp like things within a unit of measurement, and I realized, or I learned yesterday that that's one way of using Unity to create a game real fast, is to just literally paint with like tiles to create your world and then assign like boundary boxes to all of them to create your ground and like your collision object dues. Collision object dues. Very technical. But I don't know, like I like the sprite-based game design because it looks kind of nicer, but I realize that, yeah, it does probably take a lot longer to get something that looks developed. But I can just stamp and copy and paste these things, I guess, to save myself on time. So if I make, I don't know what I'm gonna use these. These little shrub things, but it does make sense that I not hand draw every single asset, otherwise I'm just going to be working on this one image for the rest of time, which I really don't want to do. I do want to get to the inside, because as I mentioned, it's going to have its own interesting style to it. Ooh, that worked. Actually probably good on the way of shrubs for over there. Alright, shrub, 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 shrub. So that one's over there. I'm gonna move it down to the back. Shrub. Okay. All of these 34s I'm going to combine they're their own thing now. And then these two ones I'll probably move to another layer later. These ones I'm gonna work with as is. Let's see. But yeah, it was a horse ranch, so part of what I did is I went around and I fed these giant animals with the ranch hand every day, and they were very, like, unpredictable, skittish creatures that made me very uncomfortable and nervous in most instances. They're beautiful. I just never really felt comfortable around them. What else could I say? I worked, ooh. We had baby goats, I remember. You know those tiny goats that you see people put pajamas on, like on the internet? Those like really small, like dwarfish looking ones that are adorable. I remember one weekend the staff came home from one of the horse races with the horses, but then they also returned with two of these tiny little goats. And they were the kind that you could scare them and they wouldn't get stiff and fall over, but they would like kind of lose motor function for a second and they just kind of like topple over because they're scared. So I remember being a jerk, and anytime I went to visit the baby goats, I would like turn the corner into their pen and I would like jump and do that terrible thing where I would scare them like you do to a human, but these poor little animals would just sort of like turn into jelly for a moment and then run away from me. But they're so cute because their proportions made them very clumsy. And yeah, I don't know what the intent of having the goats was, but I guess if you work on a ranch, you just have animals there. So we had these animals, and yeah. I remember the chickens, like I worked in the barn cataloging stuff, like I think that was technically my job, was to catalog stuff in this barn. And I was next to where the chickens were kept. And I remember there was one of them, it was like a red chicken, that I named Lucy. And Lucy was one of those, you know, your stereotypical red hen that had the brown-red feathers. And I liked her the most of all the other chickens because she, for whatever reason, decided that even though her eggs were like not fertilized, she would sit on them like a proper mommy chicken. And she was very defensive of her eggs, and I liked this about her. So while she was, all the other chickens were off doing chicken stuff, as chickens do, but she'd be sitting on her eggs, and I would specifically bring her food in the corner of her, what are they called? The chicken pen? The coop? Yeah, they're called coop. I'd come and I'd find her in the coop and I would bring her food specifically because she wasn't getting as much as the other chickens because she's busy guarding her imaginary babies. And on some level, I think I related to this because even though I hadn't created Noodle yet at this point in time, I was making robots and they were kind of, in my heart, my imaginary children. So I related to this chicken in the sense that I had these strong maternal instincts towards these machines that I was creating that didn't really exist, but I still felt this weird desire to like ward over them and protect them and make sure that they were provided for. So me and this crazy chicken, probably I related to her more than anyone else that I was working with at the time. So I made sure that she was taken care of. Wow. I'm like just now realizing this as I'm saying it. So yeah, that's why I bonded with this one chicken. And I remember invariably these chickens would get out of their pens and they would run around the ranch, and one of my jobs was to chase these chickens down and grab them, and just like in the Zelda games, like when you grab a chicken, they turn into like this continuum. They become like a singularity of chicken, and there's just like feathers thrashing themselves around and like spinning in all directions, and their wings are flapping and their feet are like clawing, and you run with them out with your arms like as far away from you as possible because it's like holding a fireball, and then you get to the edge of where the coop is and you just kind of like throw them back on the other side of the chicken wire, and they like slowly kind of like fluff to the ground, like dropping a feather. It just sort of slowly glides to the ground, and then it lands and it goes back to being a chicken. And you feel violated every time you do it because, I mean, I guess the chicken feels violated, but you also feel kind of violated because you, I don't know. You've had to like make contact with this like volatile substance that is chicken. But I remember doing this pretty fondly too, because again, that was not something that I ever had to do. Ever. I mean, I think I'm gonna go on a limb and say most of us don't ever find ourselves in a position where we have to chase chickens down. It's just not part of our daily what we do. But for this small, narrow band of time in my life, that was a very real part of my existence, was chasing down chickens and feeding goats and horses and all that farm stuff. What else did I used to do? Oh yeah, there was a hill. So Paso Robles is known for having lots of hills. Oh, that's not out. Come on. Fine, I'll hotkey it. Woo. All these rolling hills that I have in the background here. If you go to that part of California, like kind of close to the Central Valley, there are these rolling hills, lots of them, and they're like perfectly round. They're like just very gentle things. And the highest hill on the property had a fire pit, like a fire circle, where, I don't know, people at some point in time would go up there and they would have bonfires or just campfires, and they'd sit and they would look at the view, and it had a very stellar view. And one of the things that I remember doing and enjoying quite a bit was, I'm gonna work on this tree, screw it. I remember when I would drive up to this hill, which I would do in this sort of off-roading Jeep thing, I would pass all those grazing, it's too big, or maybe it's not, I don't know. I'm trying to keep scale in mind. I would pass all of those Angus cows, and I mentioned earlier in the stream that the property that I worked on was rented out to a Angus beef farmer, and he kept some of his cows on the property, and they were all black. Like they call them black Angus cows. It's because they're all black, and they were, I believe, both male and female, and they looked exactly the same, minus, you know, plus or minus udders, of course, but they were like black bricks. They looked like rectangles with like horns. And I don't remember how many were on the property, but I remember really liking them because they would just kind of be chilling, doing their own thing out in the field, and I would drive past them on this off-roady Jeep thing that I got to tool around in while I worked there. And I would drive past these guys, and I would pause and kind of just stare at them, and they'd stare back at me. And once I hit the gas and started going again, after a second of pausing, they'd all kind of take off and run with me. So it was like I was part of the herd, and I'd be driving this Jeep for a minute or two alongside this giant group of cows, big black cows. And it was cool. It was just an unusual, weird nature experience, I guess. I'm gonna close this off and... No! Oh god. don't do that. Oh, that's why. No. Why? Oh, there's another one. That was another thing that I very much enjoyed about working there that was like a weird intangible thing that I haven't experienced anything like that at any other point in my life, was kind of running alongside these cows, if you will. Because I don't know, I'm not really exposed to nature or animals very much living here in the desert as I do. It's pretty devoid of life here. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because most of this is gonna get torched anyway. But I really enjoyed the ranch. But again, to get back to why I'm doing this in the first place, I kind of want to have my own Stardew Valley. I want to have my own farm, but I want to have control over the farm. So this is how I'm implementing that. But I am riffing on that experience. I'm kind of recreating that ranch, but in my own image, I guess. My own weird cyberpunk capacity. No. Bucket tool. Oh, bucket tool. Please be kind. Oh, bucket tool. No. Ah, there we go. They used to have this festival there in Paso Robles every year, and I think this is how my family found out about it. Actually, I don't think, I know this is how my family found out about Paso Robles as a townstead or a city, whatever you want to call it. They used to have this festival there in the fall, at the beginning of fall every year, called the Podarowski Festival. And Podarowski is a Polish composer that lived, I guess, in the United States in Paso Robles for a point of time in his life, and he wrote piano scores. Like, he was I guess primarily a pianist, and he wrote some really lovely like classical style music. And my family is Polish. My dad works a lot with the Polish community in the West here, as he's the Polish Council, I guess. Kind of like the Polish, kind of like an ambassador, sort of, but he found out about the festival and wanted to have a presence at it one year to see what it was all about and kind of take notes for events that he might hold in the future of his own. So he packed me and my family up, and I think at the time I was, oh god, 22. Yeah, I was 22 the first time we went. And we all got in the car and we drove to the Central Valley of California, which is something that me and my family had never done before. And we attended this festival for the first time. And that is how we happened to find ourselves in the lovely, I don't know, town of Paso Robles. And it is kind of a small place. Like, I think the majority of our time was spent not necessarily in the town, but in the wineries and the farms that are in the surrounding area. It's kind of a diluted space, just simply because there are a lot of ranches and things are pretty spread out. There are a lot of wineries there. I think a lot of our wine, like Californian wine, comes from specifically Paso Robles. So when you go there, you see quite a bit of wine, like wineries. So in a sense, it looks very much like kind of like a micro-American Italy, which sounds kind of weird, but like, trust me on this, like, it has the same vineyardy aesthetic. And I'm gonna check the chat here in a second, after I get a little bit more of this tree filled in. A lot of this is just marking stuff. No. And then, filling in the detail later, I guess. No. Don't be bad. So, this festival that they hold there, I don't know if they still do it or not, because we haven't gone in a very, very long time. But, they basically, shut down the city for a night over the weekend. Or no, it's over the whole weekend. But I think particularly on Friday night, the whole town stays open. I said shut down, but by shut down I mean they shut it down for partying, and they keep everything open very late at night, if not all night, to celebrate this festival. And there's like free snacks, like all the restaurants and like food places give away like nibbles and stuff like out on the pavement. There's music being performed publicly in a bunch of different places, and they're also giving away wine to taste. Obviously not to kids, but all the wineries or wine shops that have locations in the town actually give away samples of their wine or their olive oil or whatever it is that they specialize in making. And you can kind of just walk around and get a sampling of all the wares from that part of the city. Or California, for that matter. You can experience a little slice of the Central Valley. Everything good that comes from Paso Robles for that, like, minute in time. And that's kind of the exciting thing about it. And if you happen to like classical music and piano stuff as well, even better for you, because there's quite a bit of that going on as well. It's mostly Chopin. They perform Chopin because Chopin was a Polish composer as well. There's a lot of Polish undertones to the festival as well. You don't necessarily have to care about Polish food or Polish music to enjoy the festival, but if you do like pierogies and Polish cooking, then you also are in luck, because a lot of the dinners and feasts that are going on involve Polish cooking, which I totally don't know if anyone likes Polish cooking, but I'm gonna ask that. Do any of you guys love Polish cooking? I'm from the Midwest. There's a lot of Polish people out there. We cook a lot of Polish food around this time of year, specifically for Christmas and Thanksgiving, because families are getting together and all the family recipes like come bursting out of us. And everyone starts making what Grandma taught us, our great Basha, whatever. Like, everyone is making pierogies or gołąbki or begusz or any of those Polish staples. I mean, we haven't done pierogies in a while, but there was a point in time in my life where we did get together in the winter, and a group of my friends would actually make homemade pierogies in mass for, I'm gonna say, to survive the winter. I'm gonna actually switch over and look at the chat, because it's probably been a minute since I've done it. Let's see. Pygmy goats. Did I have a farm hat? No, James, I did not have a farm hat. Wait, did I have a farm hat? No, I did! I'm a dirty liar. It wasn't a farm hat, but it was one of those fishing hats. You know what I'm talking about. The ones with the brim that's kind of like a tan color. I think I wore one of those while I was there. And I think I had a plaid one too, which sounds horrendous when I'm describing it, but it didn't look too bad. No, it's not here. That's at my parents' place still. But, I went fishing for the first time there as well. They had like a mini lake, and I kind of fondly remember standing in my boots in the mud, fishing for whatever the hell they had in that lake. It wasn't a very big lake, but there were fish in it. I have really nice pictures of doing so as well. Nature in Vegas. I know there's nature in Vegas, just not not as easily accessible from the inside of the city. I guess there's nature in my backyard. Where I live, there's a unusually large backyard for Vegas, but there's no, like, life there, so not quite the same. Tony. Hi, by the way. Between Korean. Oh, cool. Hello, Poland. I'm talking about Poland. Where are you from in Poland? I've been all over Poland, actually. Yeah. Potterovsky Festival, speaking of, is pretty awesome. It's one of those things that you'd probably never know about unless you actually lived in the area, but it was, I don't know, one of those weird slice of life things that I'm glad I was exposed to, because otherwise I would know nothing about that area of the world, and I probably wouldn't have done the ranching thing either, because I think that was a direct result of going to the festival in and of itself. Ben, is my butt tech my partner or just a really close friend? He's a really close friend. Yeah. My butt technician. Speaking of butt technician, since you're here, and since someone brought it up, the next thing that I'm going to be working on, which this is kind of problematic because, I think I decided I'm not going to start anything new for a while, because I have stuff to finish up documenting, and that's like a long enough list. But the next thing that I want to make, or have been brainstorming making, is involves suction. Yeah, like a vacuum suction. So I need to figure out exactly how much suction I need for this project to achieve what it's supposed to do without actually harming myself or giving myself, like, hickeys, which is kind of like the goal, is to simulate the sensation of getting a hickey without actually getting a hickey. So I have to figure out exactly how much air pressure suck force it takes to achieve the sensation without actually damaging your skin and causing the blood to kind of like bruise and drop through it. That is something that we're kind of brainstorming how to do, because that's the next, I guess, scientifically technically engineering thing that I need to set up and execute if I do decide to do it in the near future. Yeah. But yeah, in regard to how this all came up, so my butt technician in the very near future is going to become my, I guess, my suck technician? Yeah? Air pressure technician? I don't know, suck technician sounds a hell of a lot more interesting than air pressure or vacuum technician, but he's going to continue being my technician, but just in a different capacity, because this doesn't have anything to do with my butt. But he is still going to help me with that. Oh, Pose 9. I love Pose 9. There's a brewery in the main square that I have a very funny story about. One of my dad's friends lives in Pose 9, and we stopped through there during a business trip, Mark and I. Just for, I think it was literally like one night we were in Pose 9, and we met up with my dad's friend at this, I want to say it was called Bavaria, but that might not be what it's called. That's just what my brain is telling me. But there's this restaurant brewery called Bavaria in the main square, and they had beer. Like, they had these big beer, whatever they're called, not distilleries, where the brewing happens, the big beer containers, whatever, blah. So he's like, this is my favorite brewery, I'm going to get all of this beer and you can sample it and tell me what you think. So Mark and I sampled all of this beer, really liked all of it, and we're like, ah yes, we very much like this hoppy one, which is unusual for us because We don't like hops. And he was like, okay, I will get you a keg of it. And Mark and I had to travel back to the US eventually, but also to like 3 cities after Pose9. And we were like, no, we don't need a keg. Like, don't do that. That's insane. We can't carry that, and we're not drinking it, so don't do it. And he's like, oh, you don't want a keg? And we were like, no keg. Like, thank you, but no thank you. And he's like, okay. And he gets up and he leaves, and he comes back with 12 bottles. That's 3 cases of 4 of that beer. And he goes, no keg here, bottles instead. Yeah. And Mark and I were like, fuck. So we had 12 of these giant bottles of this beer from Pose9 that we carried in our luggage with us to 3 cities after Pose9, and then we ended up taking back to the US with us in our luggage. And I think we still have one of them in the fridge as of now, and it's called Bomba. So if you, my bad, where are you? Zaker from Pose9, if you know of what I'm talking about, then you are familiar with the Bomba beer from this brewery that's in Pose9. Because I don't know if it's still there or not, but at that point in time, good beer. Bomba was delicious. I still have a little piece of that brewery with me in my fridge. How is Noodle? Hedison Peter. Noodle is good. He's not getting a lot of attention right now because I've been working on other things, but I mentioned earlier that it is my intention that a significant portion of next year is going to be devoted to getting him to walk. Oh, cool. Oh, Mr. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. Zichu? Krichu? Mr. Krichu? You're from Lodz? Lodz. I've not been there. So that is a city in Poland I have not been. I think it matters more time of suction than suction power. Time of suction than suction power? How so, Alex? I wonder if there is any medical data about suction on human skin. I could look that up. I admittedly haven't, which is probably bad on my part. Oh, can't beat the ring of the butt technician. Yeah, you can't really beat... Butt technician is the best title, Tony. And by the way, Tony is the butt technician, so... Everyone... meet Tony. Can't... like, safe levels and stuff. Ever hear of cupping? I have heard of cupping. Isn't that thing that you do to your face? Like certain women, because for some reason I don't fucking know what they think they're doing, but they take oil and they rub it all over their skin, and then they take a cup and they squeeze it and they push it to their skin, and then they let go, and then they run the suction cupped cup all over their face, and it does something to them, I guess. That makes me sound crazy saying it, but I know what it is because, like, Facebook thinks that I'm a girl, and they see my age range and that I'm a girl, so they like advertise that shit to me. So that's like how I know it exists, because I've had it like pushed inside of my head. So thanks, Facebook. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know what cupping is. But yeah, it's a suction thing. Doodle was not forgotten. Oh, Doodle's not forgotten. He's nested underneath Noodle. Like, underneath his feet. How much you are enjoying beer. Yes. Medical procedure besides a liposuction and... I don't know. I'll figure it out. I like the idea of experimenting, because we've already talked about how we would do it in a very manual way. I'm gonna switch back over to my drawing, because I'm not getting my work done. But, yeah, there's probably a more... viable way, I guess, to figure out what I'm trying to figure out. Like, looking it up. Because I'm sure there is some medical journal that explains what a safe amount of sucking is versus what is not. Um, but we've talked about how we would implement figuring it out on our own, which I kind of like the idea of, so long as we are mindful to stay safe so I don't get harmed, I guess. It's probably a good time to actually look up what oak trees actually, what their appearance is. Because I'll be honest, off the top of my head, I cannot for the life of me remember. But yeah, Mark and I have some really good stories from Poland. We went on a trade mission there, is Robot Army, which is our business that Mark and I have. And involved going to many different cities in Poland, which was great because we got a tour of the country, which I had already been there, but not in like a business capacity. And as a byproduct of it being a trade mission, we got to go to a lot of the it's like co-op-y, hackerspace-y type locations, which was pretty exciting. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's just everyone that we went out with really liked drinking a lot, and beer is very inexpensive, or alcohol in general is very inexpensive there. So we found ourselves morbidly drunk more than a handful of times while we were on this business trip, which was not fun. I'll say that. It was a not fun experience to be as drunk as we were. Like that. Do not recommend it. One of the drunken times was not when we were at this Bavaria brewery in Poznań. Strangely enough, I think we were actually recovering from a awful, like cripplingly bad hangover while we were there, and the very last thing that we wanted was to go to a brewery with my dad and his friends and drink more beer with more people that liked drinking lots of beer. But alas, that is where we found ourselves. And I think maybe like a week and a half into our business trade mission thing, we were dead. Like we were in very rough form. But we were holding on, and we were in this brewery in Poznań. And then after the brewery in Poznań, we went to this, it was like it looked like something from the, like, Fallout, like from the 50s. And it was like this little bar that had those old, like, Cold War, like, era style TVs. Looked like a cafe, but they served vodka there, and it was like it was a vodka bar from, like, I don't know, like the 50s or 60s. Like, that was the aesthetic. And we went there and we did kamikazes, which I guess are popular in where we were at, but it was basically like 4 shots of a thing, like, that you do one after another, and they're very cold and tasty. But we had to go there after we had the beer to do vodka at this other bar in Poznań, and Mark and I got back to our hotel that night, and I think we were both just like sad. It was a happy sad. What? I'm not often in a position where I'm displeased to be drinking an inordinate amount, but this trip was one of those times. It was an intense experience, but alas, the things that you talk about at later points in your life, they make good stories. I don't recall getting that drunk at any point while I worked on this ranch. And we did drink a lot of wine, because as I mentioned, Paso Robles is wine country in California. But, no, not so much of the, drinking. It is where I learned how to cook an artichoke, and I did learn there that artichokes are probably one of my favorite... It's not really a vegetable, it's a thistle, but, as far as green things that you could potentially put in your face, I really like artichokes. And I know how to steam them properly now. So, when I worked on this ranch, I was a PA. I was a personal assistant, which is something that I've never actually done, ever. Like, I didn't actually know what the fuck that meant until I got there. And, I was sitting with the person who I was the personal assistant of, and the first night that I was there, I unpacked, and I was invited out on the terrace with their staff, like this person who I was working for, and their staff, which was a few other people. They had a staff. Let's just put it that way. They had a staff. I was now part of the staff, which it didn't click yet in my head that this was the case. And we had like a drink, and then everyone went off to go to bed because everyone lived on the property in houses that were on the property. And I was staying in the main, like, plantation area, the main, like, house, I guess. I was staying in a room there. And everyone had their drink and they went to bed, and then the person I was working for turned to me and they're like, well, I haven't eaten dinner yet. You know what sounds good to me? And I was like, what sounds good to you? And they're like, I could really go for a steamed artichoke. And I was like, yeah, I've never had a steamed artichoke. I guess that sounds good. And then they went, well, there's one in the fridge. I'm sure you could look up how to make one. It's not too hard. And then she walked away. The implication being that I needed to make this artichoke that was in the fridge for them. And do it, like, now. And I was like, oh, wait, what? And then they kind of reinforced that that's what was expected of me. So suddenly, like, in 2 seconds, I went from, like, standing on this terrace having wine to making an artichoke for the first time and looking up on the internet how to do it for this person that I was now working for. And then I ended up making this artichoke then and there and then serving it to them. But from that day on, I know how to make an artichoke, and I got to try it, and it was actually pretty damn good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what it tasted like either. But, the rest of the experience kind of went like that. It was me in situations that I never expected to be in, and then, as a byproduct, kind of benefited in some weird, indirect way. I guess that's life, right? Sarah, you're describing life. I don't really know if this is the color of oak leaves. Does anyone know what the color of oak leaves is? While I'm at it. I mean, I can always, like, hue shift these in any direction I prefer, but this just seemed like a good... Ah, shit, that's the wrong layer. Don't matter, fuck it. This seemed like a good leaf color to start with. I feel really tempted to go and check on the chat again, but I don't want to get distracted and then never get this done. So I'll check in a minute. Let's actually look fine. fine for now. It's a very Bob Ross-like feeling. Making lots of little places for little critters to live. It's funny, but you actually do kind of think of those things while you're drawing. Like this whole time I'm like, where would a bird live on this tree? I need to make it a home. Okay, since I already screwed that up, I guess I can just merge these two things. There we go. I'm very bad about minding my layers, by the way. It's probably not how you're supposed to do pixel art, but, you know. I don't think it hardly matters. So, hopefully, since you guys are all keeping me company, and I do very much appreciate that, by the way, my goal is, in the near future, since you're all here, I'm hoping that I'll actually have this thing available to play eventually, so you can, however it is that you do games, I don't even know how you export, how do you even export games? Does anyone know? Like, you just, I guess, like, at some point when I'm done developing this, I export it as a thing, and you'll be able to download it, like a game, and then run it, and then you can actually play it like a thing, like an application. So it's an application. It's gonna be like an actual application that I'm making. And I think that's crazy. Hi guys, I'm back. Can switch to my, can stare at my face for just a second. A steamed artichoke. Grimeric. I'm pronouncing that wrong. Steamed artichoke. So the way that you prepare a steamed artichoke is you take the artichoke, you saw off its top, and its bottom. Like you saw off like this much of its bottom to make it flat on the bottom, and then you cut off the tips of the leaves by like cutting off the top like maybe 10-20% of the thistle, so that the majority of them are whacked off. The ones that the leaves or the fronds, I guess, that are lower down on the thistle, you want to take scissors and cut those off because they're sharp. They're basically spikes. So you basically remove all the spikes. The top now is flat, and you can kind of see all the individual kind of petals wrapped around the center. You can, if you like a garlic, take some peeled garlic cloves and cut them thin and stuff them in between all of the fronds, if you like. I do that. You basically jam a bunch of garlic inside of this thing's decapitated head, and then you take olive oil and you pour it on top and let it kind of sink down inside of all of the individual leaves. It helps keep it moist while you're steaming it. And then you take a pot that has a lid that's large enough to put the whole thistle in, and you fill it up maybe like an inch wise with water, and you get the water up to like boiling, and then you stick the thistle in, put the lid on, and you let it steam in this pot for about a half an hour. And you add salt to the top, and you can add additional olive oil if you'd like. Some people I think even add crumbs or some other bullshit to the top of it. I just like it personally with olive oil and garlic. And then at the very end, I don't really put lemon on the thistle itself, but I'll make like a lemon butter dip for the leaves. So I'll take like lemon juice and butter that's melted and put it in a little bowl, and I'll dip the individual layers or like the leaves of the artichoke. You rip them off and you dip the inside in your butter lemon mixture, and then you just like scrape the meat off with your teeth. And it's like one of the most visceral, exciting foods to eat in this way, because it's like you're disassembling an alien and eating like little pieces of its flesh off of its body. And then once you get down to the very inside of the artichoke, you can eat the heart of it. So you have to remove the choke, which is this like crazy looking alien fur ball thing that lives on top of the meat. and you pluck all the fronds of the choke off with your fingers, and it's usually really hot by the time you get to the center because you've just like steamed the whole thing, and it retains its heat surprisingly well because I've never done this without burning myself. But you rip these spikes off of the flesh, and then you have the pit in the center, which is what they call the artichoke heart. And then I just dip that in whatever butter shit I have left, and I eat that whole, and it's absolutely fantastic. Like, if you've never done it, I highly, highly, highly recommend preparing an artichoke this way and eating it. It's good, and it feels good. You can save executable or Mac apps, etc. You can go through a publisher or just post it on a website. I'll probably put it up on my site or mobile build if that's where you want to go. Yeah, I'm probably gonna just have it be for Mac or PC, like nothing mobile. Big Smoke, did somebody say dip? Oh yeah. Artichokes are good. But yeah, it is like a boss battle, since you referred to it as such. When do I plan to film again? Henderson asked when I plan to film again. Film what? Like a video update? Glass bowls heated and applied to people's backs. Oh, I haven't heard of that type of cupping. That sounds terrifying. I guess like the heated air creates suction or something. I don't know. Weird. And I do need dual monitors, but I'm broke. Oh, the floating fence planks. I haven't gotten to the fence yet, but yeah. It'll get worked on eventually. But yeah, artichokes are good. Anyhow, I'm gonna get back to the thinging doing. Wow, this looks weird. This is the first time I've actually put my hair back in a hair tie in probably like close to 10 years. This is the longest my hair has been in almost a decade. So I found an actual rubber band because I don't own hair ties, and I tied my hair back today because I'm in this like really grungy winter I don't give a fuck mode for the time being. Or it's cold, or at least it's colder than I like. I tend not to go out as much, but I also coincidentally don't like shower as often as I do in the summer, and that's due in part because I'm not going anywhere typically, and it's cold, and I don't like being sopping wet when I'm so cold. See, I had this problem when I was in college. I went to art school in Chicago, and I hated showering because our dorm never really got warm, or at least comfortable enough that you'd want to walk around naked even for a small amount of time. So I either found excuses not to shower, which is disgusting, I know, but or I would just stay in the shower forever. Like, I would go in and then never come back out again. I say never, haha. And I would come out, but I'd end up taking these inordinately long showers, and it would drive my roommate nuts, because, you know, they like to pee and stuff too. But, yeah. Winter's a rough time. Like, I kind of give us all credit for surviving through winter again and again and again every year. I mean, we don't really have a choice, right? But it's a sucky time. It's cold. Some of us have to shovel snow. there's holidays, you have to deal with your family. It's dark all the time. It's some serious taxing stuff. Like no one I think enjoys the winter. I mean, I'm sure people enjoy the winter. It just like it's a rough time. I mean, I personally am not very fond of it. But I'm definitely a desert dweller at this point. I've spent most of my life here in Las Vegas, and I very much rather enjoy feeling overly hot than too cold. So I'll take roasting in my car any day over freezing my gigi off in the snow. But yeah, hopefully once I'm done with this, I can throw it up on my website, which I guess I can state this. If you don't know what my website is, that's my website. It's hand-drawn. I just redid it so that the person actually looks like me, because it didn't for a good long time. Like, it looked like the way I used to look, but I kind of updated it last weekend, or this weekend, or like a minute ago I updated it, so it is new. You can check it out, but it is also where I keep all of my stuff that I do. When I finish this game that I'm making right now, I am going to post it on that very website that I just linked to you guys. I will probably make a landing page for it as well. So I don't know if I'm gonna mention what I'm calling this thing yet, but it has a name in my heart. And it will exist in the near future. I hope. If I can figure out this Unity stuff. I don't know. Do I need more leaves? I think I do. Let's give it some, like, bark leaves. Like, weird growths. Maybe a layer deep underneath here. I'll adjust the color of these if it's inaccurate, but I just wanted to, like, flesh these out in a color that I don't mind staring at for hours on end. Let's see, do I have any more ranch stories? I guess it's also important to note, one of the things me, Mark, and Matt, one of my other friends, veteran of French Toast Friday, we've been talking about turning the backyard into a drive-in, like a movie drive-in. So Mark has this extraordinary backyard lot that has a pole barn in the back, and we want to fill the space with something to make it more useful. Not really useful, but space that we actually spend time in. So one of the things that has come up this recently, in light of some of our more current interests, is creating an actual movie drive-in. So we can pull up in our, I don't like that, our cars, and park in front of the pole barn, and I would make some sort of backdrop that we could use a projector and project movies onto, and then have the video, or not the video, I'm sorry, the audio play in our cars, like on an FM frequency, and everyone could come and sit in their cars and eat popcorn and chill and watch, I don't know, whatever the hell we feel like. And it would be a solution to not being able to do the kiddie pool in the summer. Because once it gets cold, we can't sit outside and enjoy watching movies like we do when it's hot. So I think that's going to be our immediate solution. But this is inspired by Matt introduced me to this horror movie critic, this Joe Bob guy, Joe Bob Briggs. He's a horror movie critic who does this. He does marathons on this horror movie streaming platform called Shudder. If anyone is familiar with this, please let me know, because I'm at this current point in time like absolutely in love with this guy's work. He is an excellent storyteller, and if anyone wants to know anything meaningful about me, I absolutely love storytellers. I have a special place in my heart for them, and he's an exquisite critic. Not that he critiques the movies, but he kind of does. Like, he's an exquisite critic, speaker, and storyteller, and it's what makes his content so enjoyable. And one of the things that we have been doing recently is watching pretty much all of the movies that he streams or does marathons for. And it doesn't matter what they are, they're enjoyable because he's talking about them, and I think that that's kind of an exquisite thing to be able to do. So the motivation to create this drive-in kind of came from his streams that he does. They kind of are a homage to drive-in culture that doesn't really exist. Well, it exists, but it's going extinct, and he talks about his appreciation for drive-ins and what they contribute to our culture as humans. And I totally am on the same page with him in regard to that. I think we all are. I think I want you to extend very low. Yeah, I have no idea how long the stream is going to go for. I think I would probably otherwise be doing this anyway, so I'm just going to keep streaming and drawing, because even if I end the stream, I'm still going to be doing this anyway. I don't like any of that I just did. We'll move it over there. Joe Bob. But yeah, I think part of the drive-in project will be making a sign for our drive-in and actually like declaring it alive, giving it life. So I know none of us have the laboratory or equipment necessary to make neon signs, so we're probably going to make a faux neon sign in some capacity that involves, you guessed it, LEDs, and probably light pipe or what is that shit called? L-wire. L-wire. Probably gonna make an L-wire neon sign. And I think we already agreed last week that we were going to call our 3-car drive-in oh, that's too big. The Pizza Carpet Drive-In. And this is in homage to Noodle. If Noodle had a drive-in, he would want it to be called the Pizza Carpet Drive-In, so that's what it's gonna be called. And Noodle always gets his way. I feel like I'm painting. That's another thing that I need to go back to. Those of you who used to tune in on my stream back at the beginning of this year, remember when I was gonna do that painting? That oil painting? I got everyone all lubed up about? I don't know. I got everyone kind of anticipating me working on this oil painting that I was going to do. And then I never did it because stuff happened. Because that's life. So I'm thinking, now that I have time again, I might go back to doing that early next year as well. I mean, I'm just adding like creating an endless to-do list for myself. Could work on the bark. Just work on that. But I was going to do a self-portrait in the interest of documenting this new era of my adulthood that I feel I've entered. As you do. I don't know. Feels like it's something I should do. So, I took this really good picture of me holding Noodle Feet last year, kind of like a mother and child photograph, where it looks like I'm nursing him. He's in my arm and I'm cradling him, and I'm also holding a glass of wine, and I'm wearing a kimono, like not a kimono, but like one of those lounging silk robes. It's very regal looking. The lighting looks like something from like a classical Renaissance oil painting, which was the point. So I was going to go back to my oil painting roots and actually create a portrait, which is, again, something I haven't done in a very long time, and I could get into doing again, I think. So I might just do that. Sometime in the near future. Does this even look like a tree? I can't tell. Tree. Mark and I do not put up a Christmas tree, so I'm going to have to decorate Noodle. I'm gonna go check on the chat, by the way, because it's been a minute. I don't want to neglect the chat. I'm gonna save this, by the way. Whee! Hi, guys. There's just like floating boobs behind me. That is hilarious. That's on a mannequin that I guess is being like backlit. The funny thing about this is it is not that bright in here, so I'm surprised that I look this washed out, or behind me looks this washed out, because it is a gloomy dark day over here. But whatever. That's cameras, right? There's a pulsing tone? Oh no. I don't know what the pulsing tone is. Interesting. My mic seems to be picking it up. What if I move the mic over here? I also see it being picked up over there too. Interesting. I do not know. I in fact have no idea. But I'm gonna move this back. It's picking up all sorts of weird sounds. Yay! Do you identify as non-binary or something? I guess, yeah. Simone asked if I identify as non-binary. I mean, sure. I identify as a person. I don't know. Sure. I have so many thoughts about all of that. I don't know, I wish that people could just be people like, the fact that, I mean, I understand that there is a binary because that's the thing that everyone's fighting against, and I'm definitely fighting that fight myself. Instead of calling myself non-binary, I hope that one day we live in a world where it is just people. And it's not like binary or non-binary, it's just you are a person and you're doing your person thing. I wish that we were doing that all along, but I don't know. That's not how we evolved, so we're just finally kind of breaking out of that biological decree that we were tied to up until this point. Well, we were never really tied to it, but I guess as a society, it matters less to us now, or we're acknowledging that it never really had to matter. I've always just thought of myself as a person. It's just, lately I've realized that that wasn't the case for everybody else. So I'm like adjusting accordingly. But sure, to answer your question, I'm definitely non-binary. But I am a female, I guess. Or a woman? I don't know. I'm a girl. Anyhow. Electric fan? Oh, it's probably the fan of my laptop. I don't know where it is. Anytime I stream, the fan gets all spun. Yes, I totally support transhumanism. I kind of started touting myself as a transhumanist because, yeah, I think that we need to kind of depart from whatever it is that whatever we have been doing that hasn't been working for us. We need to get away from that. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Biologically female, but not, like, I don't know. Like, I don't actually go around saying I'm non-binary. I just am a person. I don't know. It's been an interesting life, I'll just say that. But yeah, I think like the response to all of that, like Shiban is kind of a response to all of the shit that I've gone through throughout my personal upbringing, getting to the point where I am now, and like looking back on it and seeing that certain things weren't ideal. It's just sort of like my way of coping with that, I guess. As all good art is, it's like some commentary in one form or another based on the artist's experiences. So when I do get around to writing about that, I can actually discuss those things specifically, but again, that's on my to-do list before this year closes out, which involves me actually buckling down and writing like a good girl, and not making pixel art like I'm doing right now. But I'm gonna check on the pizza. I feel like I could explain how something works, but oh god. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna switch back to I guess I feel that way on the inside despite not having issues with your physical sex. I've never really had, like, I mean, I've never been born feeling, or not born, I wasn't born feeling like I had any issue with my gender or my sex. Or I had an issue with my gender because, like, there was a lot of pressure on me to be, like, traditionally female, which never worked because that's just not who I am. Like, I'm okay with being a female, like, as my sex, but as my gender, I've never been a female gendered thing, ever. Like, never in my entire life. I was sort of, like, forced into that mold when I was younger, and, like, all of the shame and pressure and positive/negative reinforcement sort of forced me into that like cookie cutter like shape for a period of time. But like I like broke that. That didn't work for very long, and any significant portion of my time where I would say that I was a adult thing, any period of my life that involved me being an adult, also involved me not being in that mold. So it just sucks that I had to go through a period of time at all where that was the case, where I was like sort of by society's pressure kind of forced to become this thing that I never was, or felt that I had to be that thing. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing else to really say there about it. But it's not something I actually think a lot about, because I'm just me. And I'm a lot happier now than I was when I was younger. Thank you. The Panicked Chef. Being out of tune with one's sexuality. Thank you. I'm glad you picked up on that. It is in subtle ways supposed to poke at that. Exactly. It's just, maybe I don't say it literally, but it is in its essence supposed to make light of some level of miscommunication or misunderstanding that takes place in regard to sexuality and arousal and all aspects of sex in general. But no, I think like the healthiest thing I've done for myself in the recent past is work on that project, or decide to do it at all, because it is in response to a lot of unrest that I've had for a long time now. So it feels like the only lifeline I've got right now to not feel like completely broken in certain aspects of my being, if that makes any sense. But anyhow, I'm gonna go back to making dots. Oh god, this tree's not looking like a tree. Should probably do the bark. That'd probably help. Man, this pixel stuff's hard, guys. I don't know if I like any of that green. It's super green. I don't know if I want highlights in that way. Guess it doesn't matter. Sarah, go work on something else for a while. No. That's a better color. A less abrupt, oh god. Abrupt green color. You know how it goes. So that's on front. Ugh. I don't know. I still might get Stardew Valley. I just might wait until it goes on sale on Steam, because they're having their winter sale. That's imminent, right? It's like halfway through December. They start doing their holiday thing that they do every year. Or so I remember. So I might hold off just a little while longer. The other thing that I was seriously thinking about doing, and I'm kind of glad I decided not to, was over the winter break I was going to actually start playing WoW again for a period of time. which is something I used to do when I was a lot younger, back when I was in college. And I'm very glad I don't anymore, because it was a total and complete time sink that I very much enjoyed, but kind of had this relationship with in the same way that like drug addicts have with whatever their vice is. So I was actually dabbling or entertaining the idea of going back to one of my largest life addictions, which needless to say I'm very happy I've kind of concluded I'm not going to do, because invariably at this time of the year I always end up feeling completely exhausted. I don't know about you guys, but I feel desperate for some sort of departure from my life as I know it. Like I need a change of pace, and I need to kind of completely switch stuff up and not get so absorbed in my work that I forget why I'm living. And sometimes the easiest way to jump tracks is to just dive into a video game, because it's literally a different world. And there's no other game that I can think of that is so much takes you to a completely different place in time and space, then wow, it's like literally another world with different rules and an economy, and you can go there and be awful. It's pretty much like, what's that, the show that I watched this summer? The Westworld. It is Westworld, like for real. It is you go there and you can be as good or as bad as you want to be. It is entirely up to you what flavor you are, and I think that the allure of doing that is very, very tempting sometimes. And I'll admit, even as I'm talking about it right now, I am longing for the playing the game. This is slowly starting to look like a tree. This is so much harder than if I just drew a tree the normal way. Because I'm probably doing this like the total not way you're supposed to make sprite trees, or sprite anything for that matter, but fuck it. Alright, time for bark. Here, let me do this really quick. Abandon is such a waste, sadly. I don't know if I would call it a waste. I guess like if our whole point, if like the point of our existence is productivity alone, then it is a waste. But I refuse to accept that productivity is the reason why we are on this planet. So if the only thing that matters is my experience of my life and the world around me at any one point in time, then any video game experience is just as valid as a real life experience where I'm making something or drinking with friends or cooking or doing something that I perceive as meaningful. So long as your experience is meaningful and valuable to you, that is all that matters. So I think video games are an okay way to spend time. It's just, I don't know, there's, like all things, you have to take balance into account, if that makes sense. Escapism. LSD trip. Don't really do drugs, like, other than alcohol. I mean, I love beer, but I don't do many other types of drugs. I gotta check something on the internet real quick, so pardon me. I don't do any other drugs than the booze. But I suppose they might provide for me some level of transcending into a different world. Oh my god. Who's trying to get a hold of me? Probably nobody. Oh, cool. We got this giant ham steak. It's not really a ham steak, it's like a haunch of ham meat, Mark and I. So if I pick up this microphone and it's not making contact with the table, is there still a wah sound? I'm not even sure. Like if I talk directly into this thing and then hold it, is that better? Did that like improve the sound quality? I still see the thing throbbing, which implies that it's picking up some ambient noise. Weird. I don't know. I don't know where to put this thing where it would make more sense than where it just was. But unfortunately it looks like my laptop makes quite a bit of noise. Alright, anyhow. But yeah, we got this ham steak, and I'm thinking I'm going to warm up some of that in the near future here, and oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to switch this and then go over here. I'm gonna get my ham steak on. Eventually, not yet. I need to conquer this tree at the very least. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I'm sorry. I switched over to this so that I could look up what an oak tree looks like, because I don't know. It sounds pretty sad, doesn't it? Oak tree. Ah. Yes, that's what they looked like. Ah, I remember now. They're big bougies. Okay. So they look like trees. They're like your stereotypical tree-ass tree. That's what an oak tree looks like. They're just green with the brown wood, and they're big and full. Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I kind of remember that. Oak tree Paso Robles? Yeah, they were big twisty things. I guess they were kind of whitish, white-green. Sure. It's funny how many details are omitted from your memory. Alright, anyhow, back to work. Oh, see ya, Tim. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, or whatever day it is where you are. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to fix the microphone next time I do this. But for now, I'm just gonna let it be what it is. Alright. Okay, so... Nope. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There. back to this drawing stuff. Okay, so oak trees, apparently, are kind of this light woody color. And they're a bit more stocky. And they've got some more gnarliness to them. So this one's gonna be a leaner, or so it seems. And I need to add some highlights. Tree. I don't know. Winter depression. Somebody mentioned not showering is a symptom of depression. That is probably also so. It would not surprise me in the slightest. Because after all, life is hard. And the winters depressing. Doesn't look more tree-like. Maybe. I don't even know. So when you go into this barn, you're gonna be able to interface with the chickens. They're gonna be kind of like running the whole outfit. We'll call it an outfit. That makes it sound like a speakeasy or something. The chickens are gonna be running the whole outfit going on in this barn. So I need to come up with some great chicken sprays, which is probably something I could also do right now if I felt like it. I don't know if anybody's interested in seeing me draw some chickens. But that's also a thing I need to do in the near future. I need to just stockpile assets at this point. So I need chicken assets that are going to be animated, hopefully. Yes, they have to be animated. They're going to be running around. So there's going to be chickens chickening, and then there's going to be a noodle out in the front, and he's going to be kind of like the greeter of this world. So once you arrive off the truck at the other end of the map, the first thing that you encounter as you're approaching the barn is Noodle Feet, and he's going to be kind of perched with a bounty of goods that he's going to be selling. Kind of like a lemonade stand, if you will. And you will have the option of purchasing what he's selling or walking away from him quietly. Which I don't know why anyone would do that to Noodle. He's so cute. You don't want to make the robot sad. I mean, I wouldn't. But, there isn't going to be currency in this world because it isn't actually going to, in fact, be a game. But, that being said, you will have an inventory. So there is going to need to be some sort of menu that you can open up by pressing a button. And it will tell you what you've acquired in this world. Because I do want to have it so that as you walk around and interface with things, you get totems, I guess. You get trinkets, depending on what you do and when you do it. So I do want it to be kind of a full experience. Where's my view box? There we go. So So if I'm hanging out here, that looks good. Where's our ox for reference? See, he's got a nice little world to live in now. The little moo cow. He's like, I'm gonna stand right here and be an ox. There. Okay. The tree's looking more like a tree, so I'm happy with that. This barn and the perspective of the barn is still pretty atrocious, but I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. I guess I could bang my face over that for a little bit longer. Tree, barn. Let's try to shape up this barn a little bit. I think maybe the last thing that I'll do before I end the stream is I'll attempt to draw and animate a chicken. Like a very basic chicken. Not anything super fancy. But I will try to draw one chicken. Like your stock chicken, like maybe a brown hen, or maybe I'll make Lucy, the red hen that I talked about earlier that I used to feed. I'm gonna make a chicken, and I'm gonna have it chickening in some capacity. I'm gonna leave the noodle animation for a bit later once I get a bit more practice in doing all of this, because I want my noodle to be, like, good, right? I mean, that goes without saying, but Noodle's presence in this world needs to be the highest standard of Mommy's animation abilities. Not that I have any to begin with, but hey. Okay. I see one of the problems. My wood does not extend down far enough. Noodle. Let's do that. Line-wise, that's looking better. I just need to make the textures match as they ought to. I guess I could zoom in. What are you doing? Yeah, some of this is kind of tortury. It's challenging to do right. And this is the white part. I tell myself every year I'm going to get in the holiday spirit. And then Christmas kind of comes and goes without a remark. I'm one of those bad family members that doesn't have any money to buy anybody gifts. And I don't have any time to make gifts, although I always tell myself that I'm going to, and I attempt to. And then very sadly run out of time, and then nobody gets anything, and I feel like a dick. That's usually how Christmas goes for me. It's this like really depressing, like, kind of good intentions, but not any payoff sort of thing. That I struggle with. But it's kind of come down to me just getting my direct, immediate parents gifts at this point, and then I don't really worry about anyone else. Which sounds awful, but if I had, like, in any way money to spend on everybody, I would, but I don't, so that's just sort of how that goes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like my family gets angry at me for not buying them gifts, but I always feel bad. Christmas in my family is transformed significantly over the years. Chickens. Chickens. Has anyone played the game Jazzpunk? It's a Steam game. Not sure if anyone's going to be familiar with that, but it's a I would call it a cyberpunk-esque game. I don't know when the hell it came out, but it's probably one of my favorite games that I've played in a good long while, and that it delivers a very awesome experience. My kind of awesome. And I'm a weirdo, so I don't know if you or anyone else would enjoy it, but I thought it was pretty awesome, pretty unique. Quit using the word awesome, Sarah. It was its own thing. But it kind of encapsulated the sort of experience that I want to deliver in all things that I create. It's this level of, like, confusion, but non-confusion. Like, you get it even though you're confused and you aren't quite sure what's going on. But in any case, you're down for it and you're all in and you want more of it. It's sort of this down the rabbit hole kind of feel. I like absurdity. I think that the more absurd something is, and the more something can get me to feel like I've departed from my lick of the universe or my lick of stable reality as I know it, the more I tend to like that thing. And this game did a really good job of providing that experience to me. So I'm, in a sense, going to try and channel a little bit of that in this thing that I'm creating. That nonsense, non-reality vibe. I don't know, I just feel like I'm pushing these pixels around back and forth to, like, no end. I guess where did I put it? Where did I put it? Put it there? I think so. Color overlay. No. No, 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 no. I think that's you. Is you. Okay. Yes. We shall have it. It's a little bit better. So the inside of these windows is going to have light. Light will be emanating from these windows. Oh, did I put that on the wrong layer? Yes, it's okay. These are all going to get merged anyway. You two, I'm going to merge you. Bam. Okay. It'll have to be okay with that. Nope. Okay. Eat some damn food, Sarah. What? So the light coming out of these windows is going to be... I don't know. I don't think it really matters yet. Not quite yet. And I didn't resolve what I want to do here either. There should totally be a welcome mat. What should my welcome mat say? Speaking of, I'm gonna check on the you guys. The you guys. What are you doing over here? Hey. Not sharing equals greasy hair. Yes, I am the greasy hair goddess. Am I excited for my trip? What trip? What? Is the fence gonna have more posts, or is it just a really long fence? Oh, it'll have more posts. I haven't even gotten there yet. I love winter, but only if snow is involved. Isn't Vegas where snowbirds go in winter? I think so. I don't see them though. If Vegas is the destination for birds for winter, I wouldn't know it. Winter since winter just Thank you. I'm glad that it's coming along. Oh, I gotta check my wares. Check on my boys. Where they are in this great big world. I know my best friend got Smash Brothers this weekend. Wow, it's almost 2 already. Yuck. And this is going on 3 hours? No, I should wrap it up soon. Maybe I'll do a chicken next time. So Mark is off tomorrow, which means I'll be sitting at this computer doing roughly the same thing I'm doing right now. So I might save the chicken doing for tomorrow's stream, which is kind of like I'm committing to streaming tomorrow. And then I can just go over how to make a sprite animation in general. But, yeah, I think if I don't get to it at this exact moment in time, I'm gonna continue working on this for the rest of probably the day, so long as it's light out, which is only for another hour or two. And then I'm going to probably wrap it up and switch gears for the night, but I'll probably work with Mark on getting that character design imported into the game, and I see how this is going to go down. I'm pretty sure what's going to end up happening is I'm going to create a chicken animation, and that is going to end up becoming my character model, and I'm never going to end up changing it. So when I actually release this game in its completed capacity, you're going to end up playing as a chicken, because I don't actually know what form the player is going to be wandering around this world in. Like, I have no idea. I haven't thought that far, because that wasn't really important to me. And, I don't know, being a person's sort of boring, so I'm kind of opposed to the idea of creating a human sprite. So I am probably going to make a chicken, and then that's just going to become player 1. So, like, my first chicken is going to become the chicken. You will be the chicken. We, together, will be the chicken. That is how that's going to go down. Here, let me start on the chicken. Here, this is going to be my hook for my next stream. So you'll want to come back and see the chicken and all of its moving animations, because now I'm going to have to make the chicken move, like walk, like a walk gait, and it's going to have to, like, I don't think you're going to jump in my game, but I might have it so that when you press down, the animation is to, like, peck. Yeah! Oh, that's it. Like, okay. Okay, player 1's chicken. You get to play in this world as a chicken. And you can still buy things from Noodle, because why wouldn't you be able to buy things from Noodle just because you're a chicken? So I got a 40 by 40 cube. So this is going to be tricky because I don't want to have the chicken take up the entire 40 by 40 cube, because balls. Here's the other bowls that I made the other day. These guys are roughly 40 by 40, so they're like maxing out what I would consider a tile in my universe that I'm creating. If I drag this guy in, okay, so he doesn't quite take up 40 by 40, so the chicken probably is going to be even smaller, like probably up to about here. Wow, that's not enough. Chickens are small. Maybe you're a giant chicken. Should I just have the player be like a really big chicken? Maybe I should have player be a raptor. A raptor would probably be this tall. Oh man. What have I done? I could just have player be a very primitive chicken. Maybe the chicken can be like this tall. Okay, so chicken has to occupy a space no larger than this. So if I turn off the aux, this is my chicken space. I probably sound like a crazy person. This is my chicken space. Okay. Oh man, that's small. Let's try it. Let's see. Can I fit a chicken? Okay. Okay, guys. My current... Oh man, that's huge. Fuck. Okay. My current goal is to fit a chicken in this square. Let's see if I can do it. I want a brown red chicken. Like Lucy. It's kind of a chicken shape. Chickens look like drops with a head. That is really small. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Chicken? No. This is gonna suck. No. Maybe it just gets a black eye. I'm sorry, I'm really quiet. I'm like seriously focusing on whether or not this is going to be possible. Does that look like a fucking chicken? I don't know. I mean, it kind of needs a tail. So there's a little bit of space left. That's like, what, 3 pixels worth of chicken tail? Chickens have tails, right? I mean, I guess the chicken can technically take up as much space as I want it to, so I can extend beyond this boundary box a little bit. It is my world. I make up the rules in this world. That's a chicken. I even have space up here. Do I want him to have more feet or more doodle? I say more feet. I say him, her. Chickens are hers. It's a she chicken. There. Chickens should always have inordinately large feet. It's a chicken, right? Man. It's like tangram. You guys ever do tangrams when you're in like elementary school? Where they give you like stupid blocks? They're like stupid shapes. And you have to like reform them into like animals and stuff. But you're like really limited on like the shapes that you're given. That looks like a chicken. That's a chicken. If we put this next to the ox, that could definitely be a friend for the ox. Chicken. Okay. We can put the chicken on top of the ox. Here. You guys can be friends together. Chicken. Okay. I think this is doable. Okay, so my goal between now and the next time that I see you guys is to take this chicken sprite that I just coughed up out of the bowels of my brain and animate it in some primitive way. So I'm going to attempt to turn this into my player 1 sprite. The thing that I saw in Unity is that, like, if you want to assign movements to, or movement animations to the movements of your character, then you have to kind of have those separated out into like little folders. And since my character isn't really going to be jumping or anything like that, I just need to have like a standing motion and then a moving motion, and that's it. So I'm going to work on those two things, and when Mark gets off work here in another like 2 hours, I'm going to corner him and see if he can help me figure out the problem of importing a camera into, or not a camera, but a character with a camera attached to it into Unity so that you can move it around. If any of you know how to do that, and don't mind helping me out a little bit, I'm going to... Oh man, a lot of chat has happened. I'm going to throw the link, my Discord link, up again. Invite people. Here. If you care to hang out with my posse or know anything about importing characters into Unity, then please let me know. Or if you just want to talk and hang out, it's a cool place to do that as well. But yeah, I usually post progress updates on Discord as well of whatever it is that I'm working on at any point in time that I do have progress to show. But otherwise, we're usually just hanging out and talking about the world at large, the nature of this interesting time that we live in. KFC, wait, what? Expand your chicken space. My chicken horizons. In the chickening. We are chickens. Chicken running people farm. Yes. Wait, what? That bar inside. Oh. Where are you importing from? Just the sprites from PS? What's PS? I'm just... Everything's local because I'm making most of the stuff. I'm gonna save everything as, I think, sprite sheets? Because it says, like, the tutorials on YouTube that I watched the other day suggested that I save all of my sprites as sprite sheets and then import them into my game as such, and then they'll be animated because it knows how to do that. So I don't know. I'm gonna continue researching and looking up how I should parse doing all of this. What? Have I worn wigs? At points in my life? Yes. What a weird question. Let's see. I need... Oh, PS, Photoshop. I'm sorry, I knew that. Photoshop, sorry. Yes, I am importing from Photoshop. So yes, yeah. I'm using Photoshop for all of the stuff. And then I've just been exporting things as either GIFs or PNGs, because I don't know any better. And yeah, Tony, I'm still drawing. Do I wear wigs? Will I wear... Wait, why? Why do you care if I wear wigs? I'm so confused. No, I mean, like, not in life, I guess. Anyhow, oh, cool. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate the help, like, seriously, because I've been stuck on... I mean, I say I've been stuck on this forever, but it's really been, like, less than 24 hours that I've been stuck on it. I guess the questions I have to ask are mainly about how it's done, or what is the best way to import like a character, I guess, entity into Unity, and then I don't know what protocol needs to be done once I do so. I know that the camera needs to be attached to the thing that is the character, and then once you have the character defined, you have to like assign some script to it, I guess, that tells it how to move when you press the keys that should tell it how to move. And I don't know if I'm understanding that right, but it seems like from all of the tutorials I watched, that's the way that you go about doing it, but I'm still not entirely sure how to get the character there in the first place to do all of those things. And yeah, the animation, of course, is like a step layered on top of that would probably come later, but for now I just want to create like a character placeholder so that I can move around and set like my camera like size, like the view area of my camera, and walk around my level and sort of figure out how to like nail that down with anchors so that I can have a sense of what my space looks like from the perspective of the character. I think that's the thing that I want to establish first, because then I have an idea like what my world's starting to like take shape, or if my world is starting to take shape. But yeah. Thank you, Evan, if you're in there. I'm gonna say hi to everybody. Hi. But I'll keep working on my chicken. Cool. Thank you. Now that's helpful. Because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm gonna go back to the chicken. I'm going to... I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the drawing. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the drawing. I'm gonna work on the chicken a little bit more and then probably wrap up the stream, but I want to get enough progress on him, her, it, that the next time I do this, I have a place to pick up, or I can show progress. Yeah, does that make sense? I don't know. I'm definitely gonna continue working on my background. In Photoshop, the way that you make animated things, I think I described this earlier with this little ox guy that I made. Oh god. Is you do it in layers. So each one of my I guess each one of my layers is a frame of the animation. So this is like my base layer, and then if I switch to the next one, you can't really tell, but they're all slightly different. You can kind of see the smoke starting to come out of his nose, the steam, the bowl steam. And the way that you tell this to animate is if I go to my timeline, it'll show all of the frames, and if I cycle through them, oh no, I've ruined it. Hang on. Don't save. What was his name? Huff animation. There. Okay, so if I cycle through these, you can see it moving. And the way that you kind of declare what it's showing is if these things down here on my timeline are the frames. And if I click on frame 2, if I open up this thing, this expandy window right here, as I click through these frames, you can see the layers changing. So there's basically a layer here that corresponds to each frame of my animation, and I'm just turning them on and off. So layer 1 is on in frame run. I mean, layer number 1 is on in frame 1, and then layer number 2 is on in frame 2, and then it goes to 3, and then 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And it gets a little weird up here because I think a couple of these I didn't end up using. But you have to manually edit each one of your frames as you're drawing your character, because that's just how animation works. But you usually start out with like a base, kind of like I'm doing here with chicken right there. Once chicken is nailed down exactly the way I think I want chicken to look, then I'm gonna probably duplicate this layer, like so, turn the original one off, and then change either its shape or its posture, or whether it's kind of bobbing up and down while it's standing still. I'm gonna probably tweak that, but I'm not gonna do that quite yet, because I still don't think this is exactly how I want my chicken to look. But I'm gonna close Huffy. His name's Huffy. Huffy Ox. And go back to my chicken, and I guess I can leave my timeline open because I'm not really... I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna animate him in the near future. But I'm gonna save this because I like it, but I don't know if it's going to be the chicken. It is definitely a stopping point, so if I completely screw this up as I continue working on it, I can at least go back to that in the near future. Yeah. Chicken. So, my chicken was about this color when I had a chicken that I fed. My chicken was best chicken. But yeah, most of this pixel art stuff is just negotiating the best representation of individual boxes. It is the ultimate question. There. Chicken is fat, chicken is healthy. Okay. I think chicken will have some speckles on its chest, as they do. I kind of want that to go darker. Establish your base chicken. And then as you add shading, it starts to get dimension. That looks like a chicken, right? Like, you can look at this and discern immediately, hopefully, that this is supposed to be a chicken. Because that's my goal. And I think if this actually does in fact look like chicken, then this might be my player one. Yeah? So when you guys come to my world, you're going to be chicken. That's how this is gonna go down. Chicken, 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 chicken. There. I think that's a good player one. Maybe a little bit more tail feather. That looks like a chicken. Should do. I'm like burning all of my CPU on the chicken conundrum. You can like hear my fans running. Okay. So this is gonna be player 1. This chicken. No. We are all this chicken. And then I can make different colored chickens. So that might be chicken down. There might be a chicken up. And then I can like work on the leg animation. Because it's gonna lean forward and then its little like legs have to be able to scoop. Because if you've ever picked up a chicken, which I was talking about earlier, they're really long. Like they have really long raptor feet. So I want to really like nail the raptoriness of the chicken legs. So now that I think this is my chicken relative to this chicken, see how a little bit of shading can like really just make something pop? I mean, I think they both look good, but I really like this one more. Now that I have base chicken, I think I'm gonna give it some animation. So chicken number 2, I'm going to saw off its little feet. Sorry, chicken. Oh, why did it do that? And I'm going to pop him up. I guess I could have left the feet. That's okay. Not a big deal. So I guess part of this chicken business is negotiating, or animation business, sorry, not chicken business. So that's frame 1. Frame 2, he's gonna pop up a little bit, just slightly. And then frame 3, I think I'm gonna have him pop up even more. And I'm going to move the chicken legs down. And I think at this point, you would start seeing some chicken pans on the bird. I probably sound insane. That's okay. You guys know what I mean by bird pants. I know you do. It's when like their legs kind of poof. So if I were to, here. So now that I have 3 frames drawn right here in my layers panel, I'm gonna click create frame animation. So it's gonna pop up with just an empty nothing void here, which is what you're looking at right now. The moment that I turn this layer on, it's gonna pop up there. So that's standing chicken, like lone chicken in its resting state. If I click this new frame thing, it's gonna make a second frame, and it's gonna look exactly like the one I was currently on. So I'm going to need to turn off the first layer and then turn on the second layer. And then do that again, duplicate, turn off the second, turn on the third. So now I have 3 frames. And if I go ahead and turn the the duration of each of these frames up to like 0.2 seconds and I hit play, you can see my chicken kind of do this cute little bob thing. I don't know what the hell you'd call that. It's doing the chicken. Maybe this is like what the chicken just does in its resting state. Maybe like when you show up on my farm, you're just kind of like when you're in a resting position, you're just kind of like bobbing up and down as a chicken, and that's it until you move. Maybe those are just the two states. You're just bobbing chicken or running chicken. Okay, I think that's gonna be a thing. She's crazy. Or it can just be like this. Back and forth bob chicken. Chicken pants. Maybe that looks better. That looks like a chicken. I think that looks like a chicken. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So if I play that, looks kind of okay. I'd have to massage it, but that's a bobbing chicken. So this is just it going up and down. Like I haven't worked out anything else for that matter. But the chicken, it can bob if it wants to. It can leave its friends behind. Because its friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine. Okay. So the chicken is a chicken. Chicken motion. How can I do chicken motion? I'm gonna have to figure this out. But hang on. Oh wait, I didn't even go down. I'm so sorry I didn't switch the screen back over. I'm such a dick. I am so sorry. This is what I was working on. So you didn't see that this whole time. I am so sorry. Man! See, this is why I need dual screens. Okay, so the thing that I was doing that I totally didn't show just now because I was an idiot is I made the chicken bob. That's the chicken bobbing. With that discrepancy, I am going to end the stream because I suck. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. So, the thing that I just described that I did, that I didn't show, is I had the one chicken. Here, I'll delete these frames. Yes. So I made 3 chicken frames right here. The first chicken, second, third. And he's basically standing up versus squatting down. Or she, whatever. So this first one is squatting chicken, and then if I add another frame and turn it off and turn the second layer on, that's what's shown in this frame. If I add another frame, switch to the next layer, then basically I'm making a layer-based animation that way. So if this is like the idle like animation for my chicken, then I can just leave it at this if I wanted. But I'm probably going to do something different because the means to the end wasn't to make a bobbing chicken. I wanted to have him stand and then run. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep working on that. But I'm probably gonna end the stream and make some of that like ham haunch that I was talking about earlier because I actually haven't eaten today yet. So if I switch back over, why don't I have dual screen? I just don't have another screen. I need to get one. There's quite a few lying around in the lab. I need to just get... I think the adapter that I would need to hook in another like monitor or screen to my laptop requires that I take the case off my laptop and modify it so that the connector fits. Which I just haven't done, so maybe before I do my next stream where I follow up on all of this development, I'll actually do that and drag another monitor to the desk, which I haven't cleaned, so I need to do that. So if I clean the desk and move the monitor over and cut into my laptop case and hook it up, then I can set that up next time so that that embarrassing thing doesn't happen again the next time that I do this. So yeah, for my next stream, I'm probably going to work on a chicken idle sprite and a chicken moving forward sprite, which are probably going to be the only two things that you do. I might, if I feel up to it, make a alternate mode where when you press down, you peck at the ground, because that's what chickens do. I don't know. I'm gonna probably work on those tonight and then continue working on my background. And if I do make any progress on the sprites, I'll show you during my next thing. So until then, thank you for keeping me company today, while I drew and yammered about living on a ranch. I have a USB dock, and I have a USB hub, but it doesn't... The one that I use doesn't the one that has the connector for the screen doesn't fit on my laptop. Don't worry about it. I'll sort it out. I have the technology, it just doesn't fit. It takes cutting, so, but I'll get that sorted out. So until next time, I don't know, enjoy the rest of your Monday, and keep making awesome stuff out there. And join in with the Discord chat if you feel so inclined. Yeah, I'll be in there for the rest of the day doing my work. So, take care. Enjoy winter, shower, eat delicious food, and find good video games to play, and, I don't know, draw, because drawing's important. So, yeah, I'm gonna end this, and I love you guys. Take care.